You're probably wondering what is the hardest achievement in the 21st century. So it's not money, it's not success, it's not going into Hollywood, it's not sacrificing babies in the Bohemian Grove. It's friendship. And you know why? Because it now has been the most difficult thing to achieve in the today's climate, to have, friends where you can actually go to, let's say pizza shop, burger joint, and celebrate about your success or their success, so they can be happy for you and you can be happy for them as well. Now that has shifted in the past 10 plus years, if I may say so. I believe it has. So one of my favorite rappers back in my high school days was Frankie, and he said in his song Rise, if I'm not mistaken, he said, it's easy to find friends when you're celebrating and when you're winning. That was like, I think in 2006, which is 19 years ago, 20, almost 20 next year. So as the time has gone through, and I would go back to that song of Raised by Frankie, I would say when I was a high school kid, yeah, man, everybody is with you when you're winning, and everybody wants to be sharing slices of pizza, of burger, of Asian food, Italian, Mexican, Serbian. Everybody wants piece of burek with meat, because if you say with cheese, people from Boston will fucking kill me. So I have to be censorship wise. But when you look at it from the very perspective, so friendship is now like playing, let's say, the Asian game where you're a samurai and you play it on the greatest difficulty, like Outlast. Let's say Outlast, you're playing on the greatest difficulty, and now you have to surpass all the difficulties that come when you're changing yourself as a person, when you change your ideologies. That's especially, I don't want to go to the politics, because politics in my country, it means if you're a foreigner and you live in my country, in Serbia, thank you very much for living here. But if you ever had gone to Slava and politics start with history, that's a clusterfuck I don't want to be any part of. But anyway, back to my point, friendship. So people have been going back and forth with these banters amongst themselves. What is the definition of friendship? And as I grew older, I actually came to realize that the more time passes by itself with the definition of time, the more you can see that the circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and people usually meme it with them holding dogs, cats, buffaloes, raccoons, mice, whatever the fuck, but not friends, because they change when you get successful. When you get successful, now they're going to be like, oh man, you change. It's the most mainstream reply in the internet in the past 20 plus years. You've changed, which is the exact position to do, is to grow as a person and do one of the most controversial things in today's climate: move on. And that's what people, even in my hometown, the term move on is rather controversial, because they kind of have those tendency to keep you chained to the past elements. When I say past elements, I mean something that you were 15 years ago, 10 plus years ago, and they still hold to it like some sort of desperation, and they want an older version of you. But that older version of you does not exist anymore. It's dead. Maybe not like that, like William Faulkner says, past is not even past. It's not even past. But I mean that they want to keep hanging out with that version of you that no longer exists. And you're probably going to ask why. It's because they feel safe. So when you were that underdog, when you were not having those ambitions or dreams, I mean, you had them, but you didn't want to tell them because you want to get ridiculed or mocked, whatever the fuck. But when you change, they stay the same. And that's crime and punishment, not only in my country, because in my country of Serbia, here is the greatest catch-22 with Monty Python. You can support independence of Kosovo. You can pray for all Serbs to go fucking die and their graves to be, removed, eviscerated, whatever the fuck. But if you're successful, you're dead. You're dead to them, because we can forgive everything, because Serbs until 1999 had memory issues with who is killing them and whatever the fuck they are in the mirror. But success has been one singular constant trait that people have been refusing to accept. And I'm not talking about criminals. I'm not talking about late Željko Mitrovic. I'm not talking about the current Alhamdulillah of my state. I'm talking about when you truly succeed on your own, by your own sweat, by your own grind, by your own definition of success, by your own rules and your own ideology. Then they're going to say you have changed. And then they're going to say, Oh man, I remember those fancy, beautiful times when we would sit in a tavern and they would reconnect whatever the fuck happened in 2012 or 11. I was in my early 20s and 9gag was really popular at the time. But I believe that you have to move on no matter what. So I remember this interview from Tom Hardy when he played Bronson in movie of 2006. So he spoke with Bronson on the phone and he told him about the floods in London, if I'm not mistaken, probably Britain. I mean, Britain overall is a territory, but let's say in London. And he has said that this girl had drowned because her leg, either a boy or a girl, her leg got stuck and they drowned due to the levels of the water rising and rising and rising. And Bronson says to him, you know what, babe? That wouldn't have happened to me. You know why? Because he would have cut his leg. No matter how much it hurts, you have to move on. Because friends can be an illusion, not like solipsism, but illusion of when you grow and become a better version of yourself, then you say to yourself in the mirror, and they no longer reply to your text. They no longer reply to anything you've posted on social media, but they're expecting of you to, like every single fucking post they make on it, but you don't want to. Because they're not going to be there with you. It's not even like that from Godfather movie with the famous Al Pacino sitting alone. You're alone in the victory picture, not just the defeat. When you need somebody, nobody's going to show up. Everybody's in their Egyptian graves and pretending they have obligations. I mean, yes, bro and girl, you have obligations, but they're not like created to be everlasting. It's not like you have to be forever obligated. I mean, I have obligations. I had them at university, but I still showed up and owned up to myself and showed up to that hometown celebration, showed up to that tavern, showed up to the coffee shop, even though I didn't want to. I kind of felt, fuck it, man. I don't want to go. But I went every single time I showed up. It's over later during the years, I kind of gave up because when you're playing from the position of a gamer, you kind of go, yeah, I achieved that accomplishment, so what are we going to do again and again and again? Not that Nietzsche time flat circle bullshit. Even though it can be a flat circle if you're a fan of solipsism, I'm not. It's a long story. We're going to cover that in another video. But point what I'm trying to make is, if friendship has been the most difficult achievement, imagine everything else that comes with it. But it's a good thing. You grow as a person and you also do several other things you haven't done with the first group. And when you move on, when you go to a different city with a different type of people, you start slowly to forget them. But they don't. They still cling to that past version of you. They still cling to that, oh man, I remember, dude, nobody gives a fuck. That's something that happened 14, 13, 15 years ago. It's over. It happened. We moved on. You didn't. So you have to understand that in life, everything is going to be a boxing match at some point. It's when you stop sparring with God, when God is, having easy time on you, just giving you some side quests and just going easy with you. But then God changes the gloves and starts sucker punching you really bad. And you're kind of thinking, what did they do to piss him off? And you're kind of mad at him, but you shouldn't. He's teaching you how to defend for yourself. And especially we have attitudes in 21st century where, it's not popular to say some words because it might offend the liberal people because, double standards and shit. But it's also when you level up, your freedom of speech becomes more freer. What do I mean? I mean, you can express yourself more freely. You can tell what you want on your mind. Because if you remember correctly, when you were in that first group, you might not remember it back then. But, you kind of felt you had to go on those eggshells because they would get offended if you disagree with their, let's say, politics, history, because people in my country, whatever they're going to talk about is going to be either about the past, what we had done in the past, which is like 345, Stefan Dusan could have made he could have made a bigger impact on the Serbian Empire, and he could have, but that's the worst cancer of people's mind. Those could have, would have, should have. That could have, would have, should have is going to kill you in your life. Because if you keep going to it, go back and forth, only if coulda, woulda, shoulda, it's going to kill yourself. your own identity. But when you look at it, you should be grateful that you moved on from them, because they don't no longer want to be a part of you, because now you have different people, and those different people that you're not currently hanging out with as we speak, they actually support you and show up. They don't. Even when you were with them, it didn't mean shit. So when you become yourself, like I have become myself, I have isolated because it was more time just to say, oh, fuck you all. We all done what we wanted to do. The achievements are there. It was nice knowing you. We move on. That's the main phrase of this game. Move on. Like the water, it becomes the shape that it is in. So don't regret, don't go back and forth, don't give yourself any bullshit excuses. They should have texted you, my bro. You know why? Because when you open their stories and they're hanging out with their friends and you see you're not part of it, that's not by coincidence. It's not like Serbian history, and everything is by coincidence, of course. English and Serbian, it's so much connected along with other Romanian languages, etc. But it's accidentally, of course. Everything is by accident. Even I'm sitting here holding this microphone and I'm pretending I'm cutting a promo on John Cena or whatever the fuck. But you have to move on. Don't take it personally. They just are not satisfied that you're not that past version for 10 plus whatever the fuck years ago. They are more angry at themselves than they are angry at you. They just decided to gaslight you. If they wanted to text you, they would. If they wanted to answer to your story, they would. It's all about the they would system. If you remember, back in the past, they would open your DM, which is, friendship also has its a lot of bad things when they're only calling when you need them, or vice versa. And of course, I don't support personally that sort of friendship, but as long, here is the example. If you have a friend and you're doing that obligation, just calling when he needs you, and vice versa, he, she, two genders only, sorry. But if that relationship is not toxic, if it's only based on doing main quest, side quest, helping you within the house, something related to the work, that's perfectly fine. But when they're not calling you and they want to be close, but from a distance, you should say, fuck off. Because originality is always going to be judged not only in my country, everywhere that you go. Everybody loves to say, oh, I love authentic people. I love people who tell it to your face. But when you do, they get upset. So when you move on, don't sit around in your bed. Go to fucking gym, listen to some music, do everything, because that's the God sign. The God sign is when you go out there and try to make a name for yourself, they're going to come around anyway. Because when you become a better version of yourself, when you start thinking differently, becoming differently, acting differently, and just vibing differently, in difference to them, they're going to remember you anyway. You think when I'm going to my university, when I used to, it was a very difficult story, and that's a story for another time. But I came up on top. No matter how many gaslighting, no matter how many ignorances, no matter how many pretending he is not there, but I did it. And it hurt at first. But in order for me to understand in the close and distant future, I had to go through that bullshit. But then I came to realize when I met a certain back then group of friends who actually meant and usually show up for me, that's where I started to realize and look over them and go, oh, yeah, we play the same game. And guess what? I'm winning. No, I don't need you. I don't drink. Go fuck yourself. Oh, by the way, Kosovo is independent. Thank you. And they will get upset severely. But I did it on purpose because I knew the game. But that's not the point. Now you have to move on, even if it's a price of being alone. But being alone is actually a good thing in the 21st century. You no longer have to text with people and they have to tell you some politics, whatever, because you have to understand, man, politics is an illusion. To the left, to the right, they're all member of the same group of people with long noses. I'm not going to go there. But moving on, it's not a bad thing. It's actually an amazing thing. Imagine like funerals. Everybody hates going them, but when you live there, you live differently. Because they're in the cemetery. That is past. And it hurts. I mean, I don't believe it's past, but it doesn't matter. But point is, you have to move on. Even if you no longer, even if the last texting was 6 months ago, 7 months ago, a month, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't fucking matter, actually. Because if you make a name for yourself, everybody's going to teleport from their Egyptian tombs and say, hey, dude, hey, girl, you want to hang out and drink the shit out of each other? Yep, when they see when you're making good for yourself, they're still going to hate your guts. But those who are actually curious and intrigued to join with you, they'll be texting you. Don't take it personally, bro, girl. Whatever you're going through is just another road to God. Christ is King. And by the way, I just wanted to mention this is my new channel. I used to think I wasn't able to do this shit, but actually I am able to do so. So it's my first video. Don't crucify me in the comments. I'm a beginner, I'm a rookie, and I hope the more I progress when making YouTube videos, I will be able to be better. So thank you for joining in. And my name doesn't currently matter. But in the future videos, I'm going to present myself. And probably they're going to see in my hometown and they're going to go with that bullshit. I don't hang out with them. So I only have my close circle of people. I don't interact with NPC people. I don't give a fuck about them. They're only NPCs in simulation and illusion. So thank you for coming to my channel. I just wanted to say once again that I love to say to the people who are going to get triggered anyway. 3 best words in the history of human civilization. Christ is King. Partisan Belgrade is a champion.